In this video, we're gonna make a game in which the player can walk, jump, fall down this cliff here, and collect coins, and even win by going into this portal. Alright, let's go. To get started, let's click on New Project in the Unity Hub, and after that, let's select our editor version. I'm gonna use the most recent Unity version here. Now let's go to 2D Core, and let's give our project a name. I'm just gonna call that 2D Game. And now let's select the location, and then hit Create Project. Okay, so right now we have this empty Unity project. So the first thing that we are going to need to do is import some graphics. I've made some graphics and put them in the video description, so you can just simply download them, but you can of course also make your own. And to get the graphics in your Unity project, you can just drag and drop these files in here and they will appear here. And I'm just going to do that. Okay, so now that we've imported all of the sprites, our scene looks a bit messy. So let's go right click here and create a new folder, and let's call this folder Sprites. Alright, hit enter, and now we can just select all of these sprites here, make sure not to miss any, and drag them into sprites. And we've missed one. Let's drag all of that into sprites. Alright, but we currently do not see anything. So what's the most important thing in the game? Obviously the player. So let's right click here in the hierarchy, and let's create an empty object. And we'll call this one player. And in Unity you can tag these objects, and we can just tag it as a player. Alright, but we still don't see anything. So let's right click on player, and let's create a 2D object. Let's create a square sprite, and let's just call that player sprite. And now in the player sprite we can just open that folder. Let's select the character idle 1 animation. So in the player sprite, select that and drag that into this empty field. And now we can see our character. Our character is currently a bit big, so let's reduce that size to 0.1. Okay, so next we need to create the level in that the player can actually walk in. And for that we'll need a so-called tilemap. So let's right click again here in the hierarchy. Let's select 2D object, tilemap, and rectangular tilemap. Let's hit enter, and now we can see that it automatically created a grid here. Let's open the tilemap by clicking on that button, and let's drag this tile palette on here so it's more visible. Alright, currently we don't have a valid palette, so let's create one. Let's just hit create here and choose. Alright, so we've now made a new palette, but we are still missing something, because we need to drag our tiles into that palette. But before that, let's change the size of our tiles, because these images are 2000 by 2000. So let's hit 2000 here and change the pixel per unit. Alright, hit enter, and down here hit apply. Alright, so now that we've done that, let's go back to tile palette, and let's just select all of our tiles here, all of the ground tiles. We don't need the player sprites, we don't need the coins, and we don't need this portal, so only the ground tiles. We're gonna drag them in this field here. Alright, now we want to create a new folder. Let's call that tiles, and hit create, and hit choose. And now it created a new folder here, in which all of our tiles are stored. And we can see our tiles here. And now you can just simply click on the tile and drag it anywhere here around in the scene. And by clicking, you can actually place that tile. And now you can make your level however you want it. I'm just gonna make a very quick level here, and I'll see you then. Okay, so now I've made a very simple level. If the player walks to the left, he falls down this pit, and if he walks to the right, he'll get to this point where the level is finished. Alright, but if we currently hit play, then we can see that nothing is really happening. We can't do anything. So let's add a player movement script so that we can actually walk. Alright, so to do that, let's go down here, right click, and create a new C# script. Let's call that player, and hit enter. And now let's double click it to open it up in Visual Studio. Alright, so once we're in Visual Studio, we can set up our player script. I will just copy and paste my old player script that I've already done here, and you can just copy this whole code or you can even make your own player script, but for now we'll just leave it as it is here. You can also download it from the links in the description. Alright, so let's go save here and let's exit out of it. And now we can see that we have made this script. But to add it to the player, let's go to the player, let's go to inspector here, and let's add a component and search for our player script. Here it is. Let's add it, and we have to set a few variables. For the speed, let's try, for example, 10. For the jump amount, let's try 5. For the radius, we can put something to 0.5, and we'll need a new mask here. So we'll go to layer, and we go to add a layer, and for layer 6, let's call it ground. Alright, hit enter, and now click away and click to the player again, and now we can select ground here. And we'll need another thing, which is the ground checker. So let's go under the player, right click on the player, and create a empty object. And let's call that check. Alright, under the check, we'll see here, let's go to this arrow, and let's drag the check where the player's feet are. Alright, so about here. That should be good. Let's now click to the player and drag in our ground check here. Alright, so we've basically set up everything we need for this player movement script. But the player will need a few other things, like for example a collider. So let's search for box collider 2D and add that. And we'll click on this button to edit the collider. And let's drag it to about the player's size here. It doesn't have to be this exact, but about the player size. Let's click again to exit, and let's add another component, which will be a rigid body 2D. Alright, so now that we've added all of these, let's try it out. Alright, we'll see that the player actually falls down our map. This is because our grid, and more exactly our tile map, doesn't have a collider yet. So let's add a component, and let's add a tilemap collider 2D. Alright, so now that we have that, we have to set the layer to our ground, because this is our ground. And let's try it out again, and now we can see that the player can actually jump and he can move, but he rotates a bit weirdly when we get to the edges. So let's fix that. Let's go to the player, let's go to the rigid body constraints and freeze the Z rotation. Also, the player should jump a bit higher, so let's give him the jump amount of, I think 7 is good here. Let's try it out again. And as we can see here, now the player can walk and he can fall down. Alright, perfect. So to kill the player, actually, we need another script. So let's create another C# script, and let's call that kill. And this will be a way more simple script. We can just get rid of all of that, and we can add here, we can copy that. Let's paste it here. We can add Unity Engine dot scene management, and now we can do here on trigger enter 2D. Let's click on that, hit enter. On trigger enter 2D, let's say scene management or scene manager dot load scene, and we want to load the scene 0 because this is our current scene. Alright, so let's try that out. Let's save the script and let's go back. And we can see here, let's add a kill zone. Alright, so just create another empty object and call it kill zone. Alright, and let's drag the kill script on it, and let's add another component, which will be a 2D box collider. Let's set this 2D box collider to trigger, and let's drag it about where the player should get killed. Let's edit it by clicking on that button and making it a bit larger here. Alright, so once the player touches that, he will automatically get killed. Let's try it out. Let's hit play. And if we walk down, we can see, here that our player gets respawned at this exact position here. Alright, perfect. So now the last thing that we need to do is make the player be able to win. Alright, so first thing is, if you've noticed, the camera doesn't follow the player yet. So to do that, let's just drag the camera onto the player. Alright, so now the camera follows the player actually. And let's make a win script. So create a new C# script and call it win. And for this one, we'll need the on trigger enter 2D. And let's just say that we want to have a game object. So let's go public game object up here, and let's call it win screen. Alright, so let's say win screen, here it is, dot set active, and we'll set that to true. Alright, that was basically it. So let's go out of here, and we can just actually copy our kill zone probably. So let's copy that, let's duplicate it, and let's call this one win zone. Alright, we can remove the script, and we can instead add our win script. Alright, so that should basically do it. Now let's drag it about where the player should be able to win, and let's resize it. So let's go here. Oh, let's click on it again, and if the player touches this win zone, he should be able, or he should win this game. Alright, so to make a screen that the player has won, let's create a canvas by right-clicking here, going to UI and creating a canvas. Let's hit enter, and under this canvas, here we can see that we should set it to scale with our screen size. Alright, perfect. Under this canvas, right-click and go UI and add a text. Alright, perfect. Let's import the essentials and close this window. And now we can just say what we want to say here. So let's say you won. Alright, perfect. So currently we can see our text here, but it doesn't look that good. So let's just give it another style. Maybe this one looks pretty good. And let's make it maybe a bit bigger. We can do that here. Let's see. This looks pretty good. I think that was basically it. Maybe make it bigger. Yeah, I think that looks about good. We can just, of course, do a bit more of stylizing later. Alright. So now let's deactivate this by clicking this check mark here. And in our win zone, we can drag it in here so that it gets activated only when we won, basically. And to signalize where the end of the level is, we can go to our sprites. Let's just go to scene here, and here the player should be able to win. So let's drag in this sort of portal maybe. Let's drag that in, make it a bit smaller because that is really big. Alright, so let's do this. It's kind of a big portal still, but yeah, let's drag that in here. About here, alright. And now we have that. Let's call it, I don't know, win portal. Alright, so now we have that. And basically you have a fully functioning game now. So let's see that. If we play here, then we can drop down here and we get respawned, and we can also, of course, jump over this thing here, and if we are here, we won. Alright, so that's basically it with the simple stuff, but we also want to do something else. If you've noticed, I have a coin tile here, so let's add coins that the player can actually collect. To do that, let's make another script. So create C# script, and let's call it coins. Alright, let's hit enter and open that up in Visual Studio. And for this, we will need a public integer, so int, and we'll call that coins. Alright, and we also need to use Unity engine.ui, so just copy that and say point UI. Alright, we'll need another public, this time a text, so public text, and let's call it coins text. Alright, and that was basically it here. So in the update, we'll say coins text dot text is equal to our coins dot toString. Alright, let's do that. And what we need to do here too is we'll need a coin pickup script. Alright, so let's close this one. And let's add a sort of coin manager object. So let's create an empty object and call it coin manager. Alright, let's add the coin script here. So search for coins, add it, and we'll need a coins text. We'll make that later. But first we need a coins collect script. So let's make another script. Let's call it coins collect. Alright, let's open that up too. And in here, we'll just say, again, on trigger enter, 2D, we can say that we'll need a coin script actually here. So let's make a public coins. Alright, let's hit enter, do that, and we'll call that coin manager. Alright, and once we're here, we'll say coin manager dot coins plus equals 1. So we add 1 coin. And here we'll say destroy, and we will destroy this object here. Alright, perfect. So now we have everything we need. So let's set all of that up. Let's first make, under the canvas, make another UI object. Let's make another text here. And we'll call that text coins counter. Alright, because this will count our coins. And we go here, and let's set the center about here. So let's also set position. So press Alt or Option on Mac, and let's set that to this upper corner here. Alright, so now this text is in our upper corner. Let's go to our coin manager and drag this script in. Alright, this text, I mean. Let's drag that. Oh, why doesn't it not work? Okay, so I've made a very small mistake before. Let's just delete that and instead write using Text Mesh Pro. So TM Pro. And let's replace this text here with a Text Mesh Pro text. Alright, here it is. So let's just say Text Mesh Pro text. Let's save that again. Let's go out of Visual Studio. Let's go to our coin manager, and now we can drag in our coins counter. Alright, so the only thing left to do is actually make our coins. So let's go to Sprites, and let's drag in a coin, and this one is really big, look at that. Alright, so let's make it smaller, maybe 1.05 by 0.05. Alright, this looks about good. Let's place it somewhere around here. Alright, let's add a script, and let's add our coins collect script to that. And of course, we again need a box collider, 2D here. Let's set that to trigger. Alright, here we don't need to really reposition this or rescale this because it's already looking pretty good. And that should be basically it. Let's save this. Alright, and let's go in. Let's try it out. Alright, maybe one thing left here. Yeah, we forgot our coin manager, so let's drag in our coin manager. And now it should work. Now it should really work. Alright, so let's just collect it, and we can see here that we have collected this 1 coin. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now we can actually duplicate this, and let's just put a few more coins here, and that should be good. Alright, let's see. Yeah, we can now collect coins. The only thing is that these coins actually don't go away here. As you can see, these coins, they stay. So that looks a bit weird. Let's fix that too. And that's really the last thing that we are going to do. Alright, so let's go to our coins collect. And let's this dot game object. Let's see if that does it. And now the coins should go away. Alright, perfect. So now I've made a very simple game in which the player can die, he can collect coins, and he can even win this game. So of course you can expand on that a lot more, but this is just a very, very basic 2D game. And if you want me to do a bit more, like more levels, maybe enemies, you can write down that in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.